Do you know how much authors make? If you guessed $31,000 a year, you'd be right according to a 2018 survey from the Authors Guild. I share this because no one wants to tell authors that your book sales won't pay the bills. And it stings, I know, but hang with me for 10 minutes because I'm about to show you how to turn that same book into a coaching client machine that creates real revenue. But what if I told you that the book, The One Gathering Dust on Amazon, let me show you this real quick, could actually be your most powerful tool for landing premium coaching clients, not through direct book sales, but through something else completely differently. And I wanted to bring this up. Look at this. I'm so prepared. I'm selling my book and not making too much over the past month, but I'm selling 62 copies. And I wanted to thank France because I saw 1% of my sales actually come from France. But earning a full-time income on a new offer in just 2 months since I launched this book and make sales every day. So that's really exciting. So I'm going to keep showing you how I'm doing this. Let's go back to the slideshow. So let me show you how. I just got off a call with Mr. Don Ross, and he's launching a book about masculine transformation. And like most authors, he thought success meant hitting bestseller lists. But here's what we mapped out instead. There's a simple system that turns readers into $3,000 a month coaching clients. And the best part is that your book sales don't really matter here, almost. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly how this works. You'll discover the Boulder Chain metaphor that'll completely flip how you think about your book, the 4 circles framework that qualifies and converts readers into high-ticket clients, making it the fastest path to cash, and the exact funnel that makes this whole thing pretty much run on autopilot. And look, I'm not some guru selling you a dream. I'm Zach Zeller. I help authors and coaches build real businesses around their expertise. And I've been making this work for 8-figure agencies, coaches with over 10 million followers on Instagram, even guys with smaller audiences who not a lot of people have heard of as well. So basically, if you have a business with a book or you're thinking about writing one, and you want it to actually fuel your coaching business instead of just feeding your ego, this is for you. So let's dive in. And just, again, like real quick context, I write books for myself to grow my businesses. This one is my most recent, the book that gets clients. And I work with coaches and consultants who use books as business tools, not trophies. I've been doing this for years now, helping people launch books that become client magnets and monetize their business off of that. And just this morning, I was working with Don, who I mentioned before, on his masculinity book. He's a smart guy, great frameworks, but he was stuck really focusing on his launch and how he can sell more copies and launch it correctly. And it's really the wrong question because your launch is an event, but really your book should be an asset that works for your business for months. And so the question I told him to focus on instead is how do we turn readers into clients? Because here's what most authors don't really get, that book isn't the business, your book's the chain. And let me explain this with a story. So last month, I'm talking to Mike, a restaurant consultant, really clever guy, and he has a framework that he's used to double restaurants' profit margins in about 90 days. But he's sending out cold emails that get ignored. He's cold calling customers who hang up on him, and he wants to take his business, which is kind of flirting with the 6 figures a year mark, to a consistent $600,000. But he has no stats in the marketplace, no system in place, just a lot of hustle. And that $600,000 amount is the boulder he's trying to lift up, but with a chain that can barely hold back a chihuahua. And then that's his goal, right? $600,000. Then he writes a book, nothing fancy, 120 pages about restaurant profitability, self-published. He didn't even put it on Amazon. He just created the book and distributed it privately as a lead generation tool. But here's what's changed. Now when he reaches out to these restaurants, he's not random pitch number 47. He is the author of the Profitable Restaurant Playbook. Same mic, different response completely. The book became a stronger chain, strong enough to pull in the $600,000 over 13 months. And his emails got opened, his calls got returned, his coaching fees went from $500 per month retainers to $3,000 a month retainers. Not because his book was a bestseller, but because the book was a stronger chain. And they write the book, they sell the book, they make the money. But That's like buying a fishing rod and expecting fish to jump in your truck. So the book is really your tool, not your product. And it's the thing that creates the authority so you can stand out and sell what actually matters. Your coaching, your programs, your expertise packaged in ways that are useful. So you write the book, you sell everything else, and that's how you make money. If you're thinking, well, I want to be a best-selling author, that's cool. Go chase that dream. But while you're fighting for your $2,100 per year average author income, the people that are really succeeding using a book and growing their business in today's environment, where it's just so much noise and so much marketing, are the ones that use their book to create a platform of authority to build their six-figure plus coaching business. Which brings us to the actual system. Oh, it's a book chain. That was a pun. I forgot to go to here first. And that's how you really want to use your book chain. Now, I want to show you the actual system and, which brings us to the actual system. So you get that book equals chain. Get it? Because it's a book chain. But how do we turn these readers into clients? There's 3 phases: the before, during, and after. And most authors just think about the during phase. They think about the big launch. They're going to make a lot of sales, but they don't think about anything after that. And the during phase is really like 20% of the equation. So let's start before the beginning. And before, we really want to focus on getting the right people, because before someone ever cracks open your book, you need to be thinking about the right choreography to get the right people to the book. So where are these people coming from? What makes them interested? What problem are they trying to solve? Don's book about masculine transformation, we're not just tossing it onto Amazon and hoping that people find it. We're creating content that attracts men who are questioning what healthy masculinity even means. So Don already has a small email list of 2,000 people, a YouTube channel. He's looking to get into podcast guesting as well. Assets and the topics we're going to talk about that lead to this book aren't just going to be about how to be a man. It's going to be about men who can't stop scrolling social media, men who are too anxious to make new friends, to approach women, who feel like they don't have a passion in their life, who feel like they're getting left behind, who are addicted to, I don't know what I could say on YouTube, but I guess like weed, porn, self-development books, all of those toxic things in people's lives. And this book becomes the natural next step in their journey because they're hooked in on the topic that is their representation of current reality, right? They feel understood. And then the book becomes much more compelling to get because it's the solution to their problem and not just something forced onto them that they need to read. And remember, we want to get the books in the hands of the right people. And we do that by building this relevancy. So the right 100 people, frankly, can change your business and your finances forever. But most authors blow the whole thing in the during phase, even if they understand all the before stuff. And they do this because they write 200 pages of theory and stories and expect readers to figure out what to do next, which is like giving someone a map with no destination marked. You need what I call conversation breadcrumbs throughout the whole book. And this isn't salesy stuff. These are useful tools beyond the scope of the book that happen to live on your website, your social media, your email list. Different types of assessments are helpful, templates, even bonus chapters, things that genuinely help, but also capture their email and start a relationship. And the goal of this phase is to rehook your audience to make it as easy as possible for them to get a small win from your know-how. So if you imagine someone maybe hears about you on a podcast, they find your book on Amazon and they get it, they need to have something that demonstrates the results that you can bring for them and the value that you could add to their life. And so once you do that, they're much more likely to buy because you're already proving that you can help them, where they give you a little bit of attention and they get a win. And so it's just natural to double down on that. And that's how we go into the after phase. So someone finishes your book, they're inspired, motivated, ready to take action. They have a dopamine high, but more importantly, they have some sort of win, whether it's an emotional transition, a paradigm shift, something tactically useful. But this is usually where most books kind of end. There's not really a next step. They read the book, maybe they take some action on it, they put the book on the shelf and move on with their life, unless you've choreographed what happens next. So when we focused on this with Don, readers, for example, will go through the book. They can sign up for the lead magnet, get an email sequences that helps them implement what they learned in bite-sized pieces to, again, rehook them to get their attention back, and then gives them a useful tactical win with free resources that go deeper. And they also get an invitation to a free trial of his membership. So at this point, though, you're not really selling anything yet. You're just serving, you're helping them get results with what they just learned in the book. And something really beautiful happens. They start moving through what I call the 4 circles, which, credit where credit is due, I learned in 2016 from Taki Moore and used this to make over $4.2 million in 14 months with. And these are the 4 circles. So the idea is that your book is facing a massive chasm from making a sale. And so these 4 circles bridge that gap, because otherwise you're basically asking people to make this huge leap from just hearing about you to getting on a call, committing 2 hours to watching a webinar review, or like buying and committing X amount of money a month to a membership without any real relationship built. So let me go into circle 1, which is qualify. And I want to just bring up the point that not everyone who reads your book is a fit for your coaching. And that's a good thing, because again, the right 100 people can drastically change your business. And you want to identify those people, the ones who are serious, who have a problem that you solve, and who can afford to invest in themselves. So you might understand this as like a hand raiser, but all of these people like look completely different and stocky or animated. And you wouldn't know by looking at these people if they were in market for what you sell. And so you want to let them raise their hands, and your book can do this automatically. So someone who reads all the way through your book is probably interested in the topic. Like if they're reading a book about the restaurant business, they're probably a restaurant owner, or especially if they're reading about restaurant profitability, they're probably a restaurant owner. Someone who finishes a book about how to be a man is probably not a woman. They're probably interested in personal growth, and they're going to be a better fit than, someone who just randomly signs up for a call out of the blue with you to buy your stuff. So the book pre-qualifies your audience. But if you're selling on Amazon, you need to pre-qualify them again and get them on your email list so that you can keep track of them. So I don't want to overcomplicate this, and I can make another video on this. But in Amazon, you make the sale of your book, and then you can have people opt in. And when people opt in, then you can follow up with them through your email list so that we can start conversations, which is the goal and how we sell the system. So the end result of qualifying is that you have people that are in the market for what you sell. And this leads to circle 2 is engage. And this is where the during and after phase tools come in. So they read your book, you have their email address, they've gotten your lead magnet, whatever that may be, and you're not pitching anything yet. What you want to do here is start the conversation, because these sales, these conversions happen in conversations. So you can do this automated with emails, but imagine you're Jerry Tribbiani and you see either the new girl who moved into your apartment or a Thanksgiving dinner. I'm not sure what he's looking at here. The first thing he asks is, how you doing? And similarly, we don't want to ask as open-ended of a question as that. I like to use more of a sorting question, but you already know that people have gotten your book or gotten your lead magnet. So what's the next thing that you can ask them to start a conversation? So when people get the book that gets clients and get on my email list by getting my bonus course that I have hidden in the book, what I send them is I ask, like, how long have you been thinking about writing a book? And they tell me they already have one, or they tell me that they're planning one. And that starts a conversation that engages them. I'm not pitching anything. I'm just talking to them. In sales, you might call this gathering intel, but really you're just starting conversations and starting that process of seeing if someone's a fit. Because if you don't talk to anyone, you're not going to get any kind of results, because sales is really just a conversation where money is exchanged at the end, which goes to the 3rd circle. Because right now, especially if you're someone who doesn't really like sales and you're not waking up every morning asking who has your money for today, you'll probably be vibing and you'll be excited in the engagement piece, going back and forth with your with your new pen pal here. And you'll be really excited until you realize you have no idea how to lead this into your offer. And to do this, I just like to basically confirm if they want what I'm offering. So again, breaking it down for what I do, people buy the book and they get the bonus course to get onto my list. And I shoot them an email and I say, oh, like, appreciate you picking up everything. Like, how long have you been thinking about writing your book? And maybe we go back and forth for one or two things. And if I think that they're a fit, that I can help them with their book or with their marketing, I can just confirm that they want the outcome. So sometimes this is me saying, hey, do you want me to just help write your client getting book in the next 30 days and get it up on Amazon? And they can say yes, they can say no. They're not committing. Typically, we're doing almost a tie down and getting more serious. And this is good because we're leading to the sale, but it's bad because you haven't made the sale yet. And that's where you need step 4. But for a group coaching example, the one that we've used a lot is just say, hey, like, I'm looking for a few more people to work with on this big outcome that, is what you offer. So fill in the blank there. I think it'd be a good fit here. Would you be interested in hearing how this works? And if they say yes, we're going to circle number 4. And this is where we convert. And this is where your coaching conversation happens. But you've done all of this groundwork. So you already know that they're in the market. They're chatting with you and you're getting some more information if they're a fit. They've given you permission to tell them more about what you offer. And so all signs are pointing green and there's a big chance that you can help them. And when you get on a phone call with these people, and that's what I recommend, especially at first, get on a phone call because that's going to be the best for you to respond to what's going on in their mind and for you to find out what they want and what they don't want. Because if you're just sending them to a letter or a sales page and you don't have that as dialed in, you won't know exactly where they're falling off, which can be frustrating because maybe they don't like the offer, maybe they're confused by something and you'll never know because you're not talking to them and engaging them. But if you do 5 to 10 sales calls, you can pretty much understand why they won't buy and how to fix that in your marketing and in your offer. Because a lot of people will tell you, oh, you got to focus on the offer. But if you spend all of your time focusing on the offer before you get into conversations with the people who can actually pay you money for that offer, you're going to create something that you think people want, but you're not going to get the actual feedback from the audience. And what you come up with may be worlds apart from what people find valuable or are actually interested in. So I recommend really focusing on, again, finding people who are in market, starting conversations, seeing if they want the outcome you're promising. And then when it comes to how you get that promise or how you get them that promise, that's really the logistics of the sales piece. And maybe it happens that you're the lead magnet or the reader magnet that you use to make it more compelling for people to come on. Once you fix that, then you can see how many conversations you're starting and how far you get into those conversations. And then you can see if people are actually interested in your offer insofar as the outcome you're promising. So a really simple example when we were trying to dial this in is I was working with a client. We had an audience of 37,000 people and we were making no money from our audience. And we were selling an offer to teach people basically how to make money online, like a social media marketing agency, which there are a ton of. It is a competitive space and everyone is making the same promise of make 6 figures with whatever mechanism, right? Make 6 figures with Shopify, make 6 figures with AI, make 6 figures with Canva books, make 6 figures with affiliate marketing, all this stuff. So the way that we made our outcome a lot stronger is we didn't focus on the mechanism. Like, it's very clear people want to make 6 figures and that's a very compelling promise in that market. But what we did is we asked people if they wanted to make a full-time income, not necessarily 6 figures, but just a full-time income from home. And so that was an outcome they really wanted. and they were curious to hear more. And then by hearing more, that's when we shared exactly how the process worked. And it took 30 days, and we told you how to use Instagram to start a social media marketing agency and get clients and do this and do that. And then we still had more questions. So some people said, I don't really want to do this because I think I'm too old. Or I don't really want to do this because I live in the UK and this feels like a US thing. Or I don't really want to do this because I don't know if this could make me enough money, or I don't know how realistic this is, or whatever it is. So we would hear those concerns and use that to strengthen our sales calls to the point that we can just have a video that we sent to people, which was extremely high leverage and made us the $4.2 million over 14 months using this process. So that's really awesome. And we put a book on the front of this to qualify people and give them the book, start a conversation with them, confirm they wanted that outcome, and then converted them with the video sales letter. But there is one missing link to this, because the key to making this whole thing work is you need to make your message more of a spear and less of a net. And so the biggest mistake that I see authors making is they're trying to change the world with generic advice. For example, there's a lot of business coaches I work with that teach people marketing, sales, fulfillment, and there's nothing unique about that. There's nothing I can wrap my head around that. It dulls the offer, and so it doesn't build as much desire. It's not as compelling, it's not as sharp. But if instead you focus hyper specifically on what you're providing, that creates a spear which really penetrates into the market. So, really quick example, Dom could have written a generic book about being a better man. And instead, he got really specific for Christian men over 30 who feel disconnected from healthy masculine community. That's much more specific and speaking to those problems of they can't stop scrolling. They are abusing porn. They don't know how to date women, or they don't know how to talk to their wives. All of those specific top of mind problems will get their attention. But if you just vaguely tell people, hey, here's how to be a better man, they might not listen because they don't think it applies to them. And you could do this again with any industry. If I told you, here's how to get 3 to 5 clients per month with a book, a much more specific, precise languaging. And that's the idea of the spear. It pierces through the noise and hits exactly who needs it. And the goal is, yes, you're going to miss out on people. You're going to talk to fewer people, but the people you do talk to are going to be those 100 people who can change your business. You're not trying to sell 1 million books. You're trying to create clients, and clients hire specialists, not generalists. So your book title, subtitle, cover description, everything should scream to your specific person, this is for you. Because when the right person sees it, they don't think, maybe I should read this. They say, holy cow, this person gets me. And that's how you create super fans that buy all of your stuff before they even open page 1. And look, I know this might feel like a lot. You came into this video thinking about book sales, and now I'm talking about funnels and framework and all this stuff. But here's what I want you to remember. Your book is not your business. Your book is the chain that makes everything else possible. And when you stop thinking like an author and start thinking like an entrepreneur who happens to have a book, everything changes. The pressure to hit the bestseller list disappears. You're not so stressed about every single word of your book. Your book becomes fun because it's really about you expressing and solving one problem for one person and continuing that as much as you can to line up the right people for your other offers. And you know the truth. One coaching client is worth more than 1,000 book sales. And your book is the perfect tool to create those clients. So here's what I'd love to do for you. If this resonated, if you're thinking, okay, I need to rethink my whole book strategy, I put together a simple template that maps out this entire process with better graphics, I promise. And it's got the 4 circles framework, example choreography, sequences, even some swipe copy for how you can make better calls to action in your book, and literally everything you need to turn your book into a client generating machine. And I'm putting it free here on this video, at least for now. So if you click down and it goes to like a sales page, then it's not free and you missed out. And I'm sorry about that, but that's what I got. Plus, the idea is that some of you will eventually want help implementing this stuff. And that's how I build my business secretly. And yeah, that's me practicing what I preach. The link's below if you want it or don't. It's totally up to you. And either way, I hope that this really opened your eyes to what's possible. Because when you stop treating your book like a lottery ticket and start treating it like a business tool, you are going to get much better results. So your readers are waiting, your future clients are out there, and your book is ready to pull them in. It's time to put it to work, and I'll see you in the next one.